Now for our second part of today's event, we saw the 3 students' presentation. Now we'd like to get to know them a little bit better and also start discussing them. And at the same time, of course, we are also enjoying our Glühwein, our mullet wine, and Christmas cookies. Cheers.
Cheers.
So I would like to start out with Paolo.
Mm-hmm.
Just on top of your head, if you think about, if you compare Taiwanese educational system and university life in Taiwan and Germany, what is the most obvious differences for you?
So for me, the most obvious difference from top of my head would be that in Taiwan I feel more like a student in the sense of a student at school. So it feels more like a classic school, like high school, whereas in Germany we are much more treated like adults who happen to be studying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, and
I see.
Yeah.
Mm. In Germany, like if you study German, even the term for student is different. So at university, you're a student. If you're only at high school, we use a different term. So in our understanding, it's quite a different stage in life when you enter university life. And the way you're treated, you are certainly treated, I would say, as an adult, a responsible adult. Well, I don't know. How would you see it? Maybe go Jonas. What is the obvious differences for you?
Yeah, as I said before, I would say the lectures are bigger, so you really have a lot of people, and that's something that is really your own responsibility. They don't check your attendance. You have to go there because you want to, and you could also sleep longer and just miss it. But if you really want to learn something, you often should go there. I think it's maybe a bit different with the studies for physics and stuff like that you could also learn from a book. But at least for geography, you really have to turn up there and learn something. And yeah, as I said also before, I think the dorms are also something really different. I think here they're on campus, they're from the university, and in Germany it's normally not on campus. It's something that is not from university but still from a like public how's it called, like not company, but yeah, so it's a bit different and more private.
So again, student responsibility is expected, and you have to decide yourself what lectures to take, and also if you show up or not. Nobody is calling out your name and checking if you are attending classes. It's really your own responsibility. And for Robin, what's your opinion about differences between the 2 different educational systems in higher education?
Well, so first of all, I want to mention that since I'm not an exchange student, I don't have like the experience of the classes in the bachelor or master. I think in principle there are a lot of similarities. And I also just want to mention that like a lot of these problems about like how people like study is also like about a professor. Like if you have like a good professor that is just motivating you, like it doesn't matter if you study in German or Taiwan, I think that is the most important to your success in the class. But yeah, I do think like there are like just cultural differences, like Taiwanese seem to be like a bit more distant to the professor because of like a sort of this hierarchy that you are like supposed to respect the elder like professor, and like in Germany like especially like even with like not the professor but like with the TAs, we are like we can just say you, or okay, that doesn't make sense in English. We have like a more on one plane, like not so much hierarchy.
It's like an eye-level communication, and in Taiwan you have more stronger hierarchies. It's always my impression also like discussion culture is quite different in classroom. I don't know if you agree, but I think that classroom in Taiwan tends to be very silent. And it's rarely seen that a student expresses a different opinion to whatever the teacher presents. Would you agree with that, Robin or Jonas?
Well, I would say from what I've seen so far, a bit. But I also only had courses where mainly exchange students were in, because the other people there were always Chinese and English courses, so they all took the Chinese course, not the English one. But I would say in Germany it's really normal to discuss in class, and that that it's okay to express these different opinions apart from the professor, and they won't grade you worse if you can tell them why you think like that. And I think in Germany it's maybe less statical studying. It's more like learning about expressing your own thoughts, and to kind of learn more independently.
So obviously student culture studying is different in the different countries. Paulo, if you think about a recommendation, like an average Taiwanese student, what should he prepare for? What might be the kind of culture shocks he's going to envision when coming to Germany? What might be new or even shocking to him?
So it's a bit hard to say, because I come from Germany to Taiwan, so I can only compare my experience in Taiwanese society, while the cultural shock would be in Taiwanese individual in German society. And sometimes it's very hard to deduce from how the society, the whole classroom behaves, to maybe the individual. But I feel like in Germany it's people seem to act more like extroverts, where here people are much more quiet or even shy. And I think if someone is very shy, maybe they're not seen as much in Germany, which can be a problem. So I think someone who goes to Germany should keep that in mind. And if you feel like you are not being seen, and that doesn't mean that people are actively ignoring you, but maybe you can try to express yourself. And I think it's always helpful to find friends early and go through university life together as a group. But I'm not sure if that will really be a problem. That's something that I suspect might be a problem.
Yeah, of course you have to kind of think in reverse.
Yes.
Jonas, you have something to add on that?
I would say maybe one cultural shock could be that you have to really cook a lot. So, because I think many Taiwanese people don't really have a kitchen or something at home, so that's something you have to really bring yourself. But in the end, there's a saying that the students' food is always noodles with pesto or with tomato sauce. So that's the most basic thing. It's really cheap. It's really easy to make. That's something you can eat basically every day. So that might be something that is really something different to hear. And maybe also I would say German people tend to be a bit more rude, especially in the big cities. There are a lot of nice people, but Taiwanese people are just on a whole different level of being nice. So it was really, when you have a problem here, people walk with you to the place and show you here. In Germany I would just say over there, and you would have to figure it out yourself. So I think, that might be something that is not directly being rude to you, but they're just generally like that.
Especially, don't forget, Jonas comes from Berlin and lives in Hamburg. Especially Berlin is said to be somewhat on the rougher side. That doesn't mean that people are impolite. It's just a different way of interacting with other people. And sometimes I think Berlin, it's always a little bit humorous, but if you're not used to it, it can be, you feel like almost a little bit offended sometimes. The other lesson I learned from your explanation is that besides learning German in preparation to study in Germany, maybe also take a few lessons with your mother and learn how to cook, or your father, or whoever is cooking at home. That can really increase living quality in Germany a lot. Robin, any thoughts of you? Any tips for Taiwanese students preparing to study in Germany?
So maybe first of all, I want to push back a little bit on the cooking part. I guess I didn't live a very healthy lifestyle in Germany when I was studying, but I never cooked and was still able to survive with the food from the canteen, and it's not so bad, and had a
thin like a stick.
I think it depends. You can find also some cheap sort of street food, although it's more like snacks if you think of it in Germany. Okay, what was the question? About culture shock, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just would like to agree with what have been said. Like Germans are more like direct, and like Taiwanese always have a way like they just show you like smiling and like try to make you feel like there's a different sort of interaction here, like. And in Germany, you have to get used to people being very direct and like not showing much emotion, and like maybe seems like they are rude, but it's just the way of interacting, and like you don't need to feel afraid to talk to strangers, even if they sound like a bit maybe hostile. It's just a normal conversation, and you'll get used to it.
Yeah. I myself, I did my PhD studies in Berlin, and I originally come from Austria, which is already a little bit different culturally. And in the beginning, I felt people really are very rough here. Also in the shop, the way you're treated like a shop, you don't feel so much like a customer, but more like a petitioner. But I got used to it, and I really enjoyed it a lot afterwards. Paolo, you were kind of reconstructing what a Taiwanese what kind of experience the Taiwanese might have in Germany. So from the experience you have here in Taiwan, what was new or astonishing for you when coming to Taiwan, especially in terms of studying here, learning culture? What kind of culture shocks did you go through when arriving here?
So I luckily didn't experience big culture shock, which is mostly due because I already studied one semester in Hong Kong before. And from a German perspective, Hong Kong is a bit like Taiwan, but 150%. So Taiwan is like Hong Kong and mild. The food is just as foreign, but not as spicy. And the city is also very big, but not as crazy as Hong Kong. So in that way, I was really lucky. But yeah, for sure, it's sometimes I have to be very careful not to offend anyone, because in Germany things are a bit different. And for example, in group projects, when I work together with Taiwanese, I feel like sometimes people only make hints what they are trying to say, and I have to translate that into what someone is trying to say, and not to go over them, because usually I would just say what I prefer to do, and then we can figure out who does what. And if I act the same in Taiwan, I would be very like dictating what everyone does. So I have to be very more, how do you say, passive, and be careful. Yeah.
Harmony is very important.
Yeah, very important. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you bring you to Taiwan in the first place? What was your motivation to come here?
I started learning Chinese a few years ago, and I really like the process. I really like learning Chinese. It's much easier than people say, but it's also much more work than I thought. So, and no, I really enjoy learning Chinese. And when I visited Taiwan for a short vacation 3 years ago, after finishing my semester in Hong Kong, I really liked it. So I wanted to come back and not cook. I haven't used my kitchen in 4 months, so it's working quite well so far. Food is a big topic.
Jonas, is it right that you are in Taiwan for the first time? Yeah. So everything, you arrived in August?
September, yeah.
September this year. So everything was new to you. What was the first shocking experiences at university campus for you?
I think there were really shocking experiences. I was surprised that it's nothing big, because I have the courses in English, but there were a lot of professors that didn't speak English. That was something that really surprised me, because in Germany, although the courses might not be in English, every professor, I don't know any professors that don't speak really good English, because they also publish that. So that was something I had to get used to. And maybe in the normal life, well, the traffic is really something to be careful with. Because in Germany, I come from Berlin, the traffic is already way rougher than in other cities in Germany, but it's still nothing in comparison to Taipei, at least. So yeah, that was something, you really have to look left and right a few times before you cross, because everybody just goes over. And yeah, it was something new. But also at the same time, I really liked, it was already culture shock coming from Berlin to Hamburg, because Berlin is a really big city that also is open at night, it never sleeps. And Hamburg, although it's the second biggest city, is already way smaller. So the shops close at latest 10 p.m., which is really early for me in my Berlin thing. So that's something I really liked here, to have something that is like the convenience stores that are 24/7 open. There is always something to eat around, and it is something that I missed in Hamburg, but I really liked here.
So certainly Taiwan is a very convenient place. And I think that's one of the things you will experience very quickly in Germany, that you cannot buy your groceries on Sundays or on holidays, and there's many holidays.
Well, you can, but then you have to go to a really far away supermarket.
Like the main station, something like that, yeah.
And they're really crowded always on Sundays, because everybody that forgot something has to go there. You have to wait in line for the supermarket.
Closing times are much earlier, and no 7-Eleven, unfortunately. So, Robin, you are old Taiwan hand. You live here since 2019.
Indeed, yeah.
You're very well adjusted. Can you still remember what was the things which have proven a little bit more difficult for you in the beginning?
Yeah, I came here like before COVID, so and I have to say, I was actually not immediately here as a student. I came here for 3 months, just like for traveling around a bit, and like then I went to like some summer school. Yeah, I would say I was already researching a lot about Taiwan, and it was more or less what I expected. I was pretty happy coming here, and really enjoyed the weather. I think I'm so happy that I don't have to go through snow anymore. Okay, but some challenges. Let's see. Can't really think of something like that.
No challenges at all. Everything is just smooth sailing.
I think it's already been said. Like I've maybe come off as a bit rude in the beginning, because I wasn't familiar that like how you're supposed to do a conversation. Like when you meet somebody, like there's a certain different codes here in Taiwan that you have to understand. These cultural cues are a bit different, but nothing too shocking. Basically what you would expect if you're in any foreign country.
Okay, so we already mentioned that traffic can be quite demanding here in Taiwan, can be difficult, can be even dangerous. Now, students and especially parents, when they ask with us, they're worried about safety considerations in Germany. And very often, unfortunately, there's this concept of especially eastern parts of Germany are less safe. So, for you, Paulo, studying in Leipzig, would you agree with that kind of?
So, from what I've known, Germany is very safe, but it's probably true that East Germany might be less safe than West Germany. Actually, but I'm not sure very much. I think the biggest difference is between how big is the city, because it's always like which part of the city at what time. So I think you can probably walk through Leipzig anywhere in Leipzig at any time, and probably nothing will happen. But it's still wise to be smart about and aware of the situation. I think most dangerous situations, if any were to occur, come from drunk people or like teenagers. Which is so if it's 4 a.m. and you're like near an area where people are very drunk, I think that's something that can easily be avoided, or don't go to or don't be in a place where there's nobody on the street besides a group of teenagers. But I would act the same in Taiwan. I wouldn't go to walk around at 4 a.m. and when I see a group of young men, just go straight to them and say, "Hi, what's going on?" I don't know. I don't know how to answer the question.
I think that's actually a good answer, because that's what I usually say. As a matter of fact, just a couple of years I compared crime statistics, and Taiwan and Germany have almost exactly the same kind of crime rate. Of course, the way how statistics are done is always a little bit different. But Germany doesn't really seem to be more dangerous than Taiwan. My personal feeling is there's definitely much less theft in Taiwan. Like I just saw like people they place their mobile phone on the seat in order not to lose it. Impossible in Germany. Don't do that because or your computer. You don't do that because there's theft. People will steal your mobile phone. But even like in Starbucks, I see people here in Taiwan that just put their mobile phone, indicating that they are sitting there. Don't do that in Germany. There's some pickpocketing, but in general, Germany isn't very dangerous. Also compared with other European countries, and especially on a global scale compared with other countries, Germany is a very safe country. And what you said, whatever you wouldn't do in Taiwan, don't do it in Germany. You don't talk to drunken people at night in the park. Just don't do that. Anything about the dangerous Darmstadt you want to tell us?
Okay, I actually do have a story about that. It's interesting. I would say first a bit of a general introduction. Like there are a lot of foreigners coming to Germany from like other European countries because we have open borders. It's a lot of people traveling in and out, trying to find a better life. And unfortunately, like a lot of them, like don't make it, and like so we have like this is like a cliche, but it's kind of true that like some of Eastern European, like Romanians or something, are the ones that like are basically going around and like collecting the bicycles that somebody forgot to lock. That's true. Yeah, I got a bicycle stolen in Germany. Nothing too dangerous. Just like this is unfortunately these people have to find a way to survive, right? And like the government is having programs to mitigate that, and like doing some social programs to integrate these immigrants into society, or like those who are illegal, they will be put back into their home country. Also one time I had a situation where I actually had a conversation with some homeless people in a train station because I missed a train. And it was very late, after midnight, so I had to wait like more than 1 hour. And I went to some McDonald's and sit down, and like a group of like homeless people went in, and like it was interesting. Like they tried to like talk to me. I was working on my laptop, and like but like they just complain about like some stuff happened in their life, and like it was kind of sad. Like it was first intimidating seeing them, just like. You're not familiar with what's going on, like, but then it was just a kind of a sad story, and like, I guess I gave him like then €10, and like he was kind of like pressuring me, like obviously he wanted to have some money, but like I think I wasn't really feeling in danger. It might be different, and like in the end, actually, the McDonald's staff came over and like threw out the people. They like this group that was kicked out. Then after they started to scream around a bit and like I don't know, doing some silly stuff. Okay, and actually one time I was also had a conversation with some strange, like some elderly Taiwanese man in the MRT station, and he was like complaining about the government, and like, but it was just one guy, and like he felt more curious about this random foreigner here in this like MRT station. Was the only foreigner there. So I guess there are crazy people everywhere, and like in Taiwanese they are a little more friendly and not so noisy as in Germany. But it's something you have to deal with in any society.
So, big capital Berlin, or second biggest city Hamburg. How dangerous is it? Is it dangerous?
No, I wouldn't say it's really dangerous. Like there are also, as you said, I think there are some people that are just, but yeah, you just go around them and they don't care really. And maybe I think it's also different as a boy instead of a girl, because I have some female friends and they said, well, at night it's not really dangerous, but they wouldn't go through a dark park, you know, or they would take the main streets and try to have somebody on their phone, or just to be like sure that they're safe. But I think it's nothing that you're like when you walk home alone that you will get robbed or something. It's really safe. And also maybe it's different in Germany, in the big cities, the MRTs and the public transport go through the whole night. So you, especially on the weekends, Friday to Sunday, there will be the whole time the MRT will drive and the buses will drive. And also, for instance, in Berlin, if the MRT stops, there will be always buses. So you don't usually take the taxi because it's way more expensive, but you'd rather take the public transport. And yeah, you normally try to get home with somebody, with a friend that brings you there, or just be. If you're two persons together, then you should be fine in all situations. But I don't think it's a really big problem.
Okay. Due to time constraints, I would like to ask my last question. Then the audience can ask their questions. So we still continue discussing, but now then the audience can ask their questions. I would like to start out with Paulo again. And I would like to ask you, imagine a Taiwanese student wants to apply for University of Leipzig. Mm-hmm. Is there one tip you can give him? What should he pay attention to when he wants to come to Leipzig and study there? What?
I think the best way is to get in touch with a person at the University of Leipzig. So in the case of the University of Leipzig, they have this, in German it's called Stabsstelle Internationales, which I personally think is a bad name. They changed it recently. They should have kept the old name. But if you're just on the website of the University of Leipzig, you will find the place where for international affairs, and then you will find the right person. And then usually to come into the university, they are very helpful. Like I think that's the best way to find someone who can walk you through the process. That's how I did it the other way around as well. I just sent out emails.
Okay, Robin. Darmstadt University is very, very popular also in Taiwan, but not so much Fachhochschule Darmstadt, Hochschule Darmstadt. Why should they rather visit Hochschule Darmstadt than another university? Why Hochschule Darmstadt is the place to be?
I would say it really depends what you are expecting for your career. I think the distinction between the Hochschule and the university, the regular theoretical university, is become smaller over the years. It used to be a bigger difference. And there's still like a sort of... I met a lot of classmates in my university that used to go to the Technical University Darmstadt, but then it was too much for them, and they switched to my university because it's supposed to be easier. I would say it's probably true in the bachelor, in the like basic subjects. However, in the later studies, I think there's more and more basically the same. You have these like specialized subjects that you just need to study. And like I would say the quality of the teaching is really the same. It depends on you, how you are like working on this like term project. If you find like an interesting project, that is what will be the most important, and something that you can show off as like, this is what I did in my studies, no matter which university you went to. The prestige is unfortunately still a thing. Like I guess some companies will care about that you went to the big one, the big TU Darmstadt, and not the small Hochschule. But I think the job market is very lively, and there's a lot of opportunities in Darmstadt. So it doesn't really matter, in my opinion. But that's my opinion.
Usually, in terms of employment, graduates from Hochschule, from so the應用科技大学, usually have it easier to find a job because they are much more focused on professional training.
Yeah, so they have engineering jobs where they don't take the like theoretical, like if you have like a higher master degree and like some theoretical thing, they look for like these people that have practical experience with the machine, and like then that's what the company will ask you, like, do you have experience? Yeah.
Okay, Jonas, just a quick statement. Why should we go to Hamburg? Why is Hamburg the place to be?
because I think, yeah, it's a really nice big city, similar to Taipei. We have a lot of opportunities to do stuff. We don't have the students clubs, but for instance, we have it's called Hochschulsport, where I did, for instance, sailing. I learned sailing there. You can row, you can do a lot of stuff there. And yeah, I would also recommend try to get into the dorms, because it's a really great experience. I live in the dorms in Germany, and I've learned, I've gotten to know so many nice people there, so many international people, and it's a really nice opportunity to get to know the locals, but also other international students from all over the world.
Okay, now we are open to the audience. Peter? Who wants to ask questions? Just raise your hand and we try to answer your question.
Okay, I heard some rumors about the difference between Taiwan and Germany, because Taiwan students always study very hard to get the permission to to study in the university, but it's not so easy to get expelled from the university. But how about in Germany? Is it very easy to be expelled from the university, especially the bachelor program?
So for me, physics might be a good example, because it's one of the easiest programs to get into, because not many people want to study physics, yet almost every university in Germany has a physics faculty for probably historic reasons. And so anyone, even people who just want to be a student but they don't want to study, can start studying physics. And it's not very easy to be kicked out. The thing is, though, if you don't study, you will fail your exams and you will not get a degree. And you don't get a general bachelor degree, you have to get a degree for your program. So this is not a big problem, because you need to finish all the classes to get any degree. And if you want, it's not as easy to switch between the programs, because we don't really have a major system where you're just a bachelor and then you just take some courses and at the end you get a degree. You have to enroll for one specific track, and if you fail the exams of this track, you have to change the track and start over. You can take the courses that you already have, but it's a very rigid track that you have to go through, and you have to argue why the courses that you took should be accepted for the new subject. So this is not a problem that you cannot be kicked out. For me and most of my friends, and I think it's the other way around in Taiwan, is in high school we all didn't study that much, and then when we came to university we all started studying much more. And I heard that in Taiwan it can be the other way around, where everyone just tries to get into the best university and then enjoys having some more free time. And it's not like that in Germany, because I think it's also less competitive. We don't really have this idea that each university has a number on a list. There are some universities that are considered better than other universities, but in general, it's much more a plain field where all universities provide good education, and no university, when you have their degree, you will be wow. Whereas in Taiwan, it really seems like NTU is number one, and then it goes it's like a water that flows down from there. That really isn't the case in Germany, I feel like.
Maybe I want to add something, please. I would like to. I think expelled is maybe the wrong term. I mean, there's also expellation, but that's for real serious misconduct. For example, academic misconduct, which happens rarely. That would be like plagiarism. We hear certain Taiwanese politicians recently have problem. Also happened to certain German politicians, similar problems. That would be expellation. So what we usually talk in German about is just not being able to graduate because you cannot do your coursework, because you failed the exams. And there's a big difference compared to the Taiwanese system. It's not years. It depends on the system. Certain universities, you have to start paying tuition fee. Every university has different systems. Usually, it's per course 3 exams. So you can try 3 times. But it really depends on the course. Especially, I know natural sciences can be sometimes really tough, especially in the beginning stage. Sometimes, I know certain famous universities have failure rates of 80% at an exam. So they can be really bad. And in general, so you can do the exam 3 times, and actually a 4th time with the commission, but it's complicated. In general, the failure rate of students who cannot finish their degree is 25% in Germany. So 1 in 4 students is not going to finish his degree on average. In Taiwan, for sure, the failure rate is much, much lower. So that's a big difference. So coursework can be quite demanding in Germany also. Anything you would like to?
I would like to add, like, just one example. There was a case, actually, one of my classmates, we have the most tough exam to pass is Regelungstechnik, is, I think, control theory. And this is like in your 3rd semester, you're supposed to take that. And like one of my classmates failed like 3 times. And then he was supposed to basically get expelled from this course. So he switched to mechanical engineering so that he doesn't have to pass this anymore and then continue his study there. But I don't think that's a good way. Like some, as I said, like study just for the money. They want to get into some good job, but they don't care about the technology. And like this is not a recipe for success. Obviously, you should find something you feel passionate about, and then you will be able to pass. And one more thing is, in Taiwan, I noticed that there's always the expectation to get an A. This is much lower in Germany. We have like like the professors regularly, like they have to reduce the grades because there were like too many, like the exam was too easy, and then they will have some students that will get like a lower grade. And so there's always this whole spectrum from D to A. Like I had like much lower like GPA in Germany than I could get in Taiwan, because the professors are trying to accommodate for the students. And in Germany, it's much more different. It's like really they try to see what's your level, like, and it's okay, whatever your level is, like that's your skill, that's what you get.
And sometimes it's like some certain classes, it's just if you pass it already means you're quite good.
I didn't get a good grade with control theory.
Anything you want to add? Well, other questions? Please.
I have the one question, like, what's the difference between the Universität and the Hochschule?
Well, I think Robin again. Or should I first start out? Maybe I first start and then you add on. Whatever. I actually never studied at the Hochschule, so Robin would be the expert. So the degree, the final degree is the same. There's no difference anymore in the degrees. So you get a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. Usually you cannot do a PhD in Universities of Applied Science, Hochschule, but that is also changing. There's already PhD programs now in certain Universities of Applied Sciences. But they are mutually accepted. The goal of the University of Applied Sciences is to train staff for industries. So naturally their collaboration with industries is much, much closer. So already when they start the curriculum, they first see if there's need, usually with local industries, for certain staff who are trained in that kind of curriculum. Students very often, they do internships in these local industries, and very often also some of the staff in the local industries will also teach at the University of Applied Science. So you get a much more practical, much more hands-on training. Still, it is a research-focused training. So you also do research, and you also do theoretical work at the University of Applied Science. But usually it's also like applied research. So very often it's the kind of topics the local industries will work in. And naturally, if you graduate in that kind of program, if you want to start out with the local industry work, they're very happy to take you in because you already have all this training and they don't need to train you. Whereas at a university, you have a much more theoretical training. Maybe a little bit broader, but not very focused. So the local industry has to put a lot of energy into training the young staff. And the other thing, the university is usually actually the final goal of university training is to produce the next generation of high-level researchers and professors. So in general, their training tends to be more theoretical. Whereas the focus of the University of Applied Sciences is what kind of labor do we need in the local industries. But of course, maybe I'm completely wrong and Robin is...
Absolutely not. It's exactly what I would say, and not much to add. Yeah, on paper the courses are similar. Like if you study electrical engineering, you will have the same type of courses. We have mandatory industry internships that you need before you can graduate. So that's the only thing. I don't think you have that in a theoretic in a theoretical university. Is that correct? I don't know how far you got.
Yeah, no, I would say the same. So I think also, like in our university, we also have mandatory practical, like in internships, but they might not be as long and as intensive. But yeah, I would also say my flatmate was actually also in Hamburg. We have the big production facility of Airbus. So the University of Applied Science has a lot of students that work at Airbus, and they're working together, collaborating. And so he had something really specific on some kind of wing that they produced and that they researched in. So that's, yeah, always something that you can also look, maybe if you're interested in some kind of field, look in which cities are which industries, and therefore look where you want to study in Germany.
Any other questions?
Yeah, can you share a bit about the PhD program? How does it take to graduate? I assume it's not
in Germany, actually.
Yeah, test. And also, can you share some business programs? And also, from last time I asked, it seems like all the PhD business programs are all very research oriented. Is there any more practical business PhD program? Like what you shared, there's practical programs, there are theoretical or technical programs. Is there any way that some business programs are all more like focused on practical experiences, especially for someone that has lots of work experiences? So maybe a little bit more business programs, especially PhD programs in Germany. Thank you.
So business means like in the business department, right?
Economical studies.
Business, commercial, like marketing,
Yeah.
related, yeah, advertising, anything commercial, business, management, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not so familiar. I want to mention that, like, I have a classmate there who's doing this PhD now in the, actually in the Hochschule Darmstadt. So they have like a collaboration with a company, as I mentioned before, very practical focus. So that is one side, but I'm not familiar with the economic department. Maybe. If
So in general, of course, a PhD degree is always research-oriented. What you maybe mean is there's certain like industry-sponsored PhDs. So the industry anyway is researching a certain field, and you are becoming part of the research team, and you do the kind of industry-sponsored research. But it's always research-oriented. It's not like more practical. German PhD is a quite serious degree, and it has to be a serious and unique research achievement you have to produce. And in general, basically there's two ways of doing a PhD research. Either you study at a graduate school. Currently about 20% of the PhD candidates in Germany are doing that. Or, that's the more common way, you directly look for a professor. Every professor, especially the comprehensive university, is allowed to take in PhD students. And if he's willing to take you in, then he's kind of tailoring a program for you. Maybe you have to take certain classes, or you directly start with your research work. But it's all upon this professor to decide. If he's willing to take you in, you can do the PhD. But for sure, you will have to do research. But of course, it can be like this more industry-focused, business-focused kind of research together with these local industries. There's certain programs. They even can sponsor. But be aware, in that case, usually your research results will be owned by the industry, not by you.
So for some of the universities that are working with some industries closely, that's already in that direction. So it has a close tie with various industries.
So as we said first, a few universities of applied sciences also have PhD programs now. For them, I think that is almost the rule. They are always closely collaborating with industries. For universities, it really depends on the professor on the special program. It can be, but you really have to check it out. If the professor is closely connected to certain industries, then he will make it possible for you to probably enter such a program. And sometimes industries themselves have their own programs and wait for you to individually apply with them. Okay, I think due to time constraints, we have to make we have to ask the last question because we still want to drink a little bit of our glühwein and eat a few of the cookies. Okay, yeah.
Hello, good evening. I'm a German teacher in senior high schools, and I have 3 students here, and I'm happy they are here. And I always tell them, except learning German, if you want to go German for study, you have to find out what you like to do except learning. It's not only learning in your life. So I would like to ask you, what do you like to do in your free times? Do you have hobbies since you are a kid? I mean, I just want to emphasize that. I want to tell them that you go to German, you are not to study only. You have to, I mean, eating and sleeping are not hobbies. Do you agree with me?
So, but hobbies about motivation, studying, work-life balance. I don't know if I got the question right.
Yeah, so a big one would probably be doing sport, working out in some way, and I think most universities usually provide a lot of different sport activities that you can do. For example, in my university, people who study sport, you can study sport, you can become a sport teacher, or actually I don't know what else they do, but they usually give courses on their favorite sport. For example, if someone is very athletic, maybe they will do a running course only for students, and that's a great activity, I think, because you do sport together with students, you can find out a lot of stuff. And then, for me, I play piano, I really like that, and I really like that university gives me a lot of flexibility. For example, learning Chinese is not part of my program, and I think if I was learning Chinese at university, I wouldn't have any fun with it. For me, I have to figure it out myself, and university gives me the chance to do that because I can take a course less or maybe find funding to go to Taiwan and study here. So, yes.
I would say the same. I think at least in my study it's also really flexible. So we only have modules where we have to have a certain number of courses that we take in, but we can really do what we like. We can focus on that stuff, and therefore we also have a lot of free time. In our department, the Friday is for the scientists, so the students almost always have free. So we have like a 3-day weekend where you can do a lot of stuff. I think, as an exchange student in dorms, I really saw a lot of students that went to, as I showed the map before, they go for a weekend trip to the North Sea, to the Baltic Sea, to other cities to experience Germany. There's also, as I said before, the Hochschulsport, it's called. It's like a sports program from the university, which is only open for university students normally, where I, for instance, in Hamburg did sailing, which I think is really nice. So you can actually do a few courses on that, and there's like a driving license for the boats, which you can also do there. Yes, I think there are always a lot of opportunities to do something outside of university and also to, find yourself there.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think everybody has to find his own thing. I'm not so sportive guy, but I mentioned a bit in my presentation, like I joined to some other events from the university that was about building some, doing some hard work with the hardware. I like that a lot. And actually, I think joining any of the clubs also in Taiwan is really great. You have much more than in Germany because you have more students here. One thing that I think is a bit unique in Germany is we have the Ackerflieg, that is Akademische Fliegerverein. So that is basically you can learn to get a sailplane license to fly the sailplane. and that was available in Darmstadt. However, actually, for me, it was a bit too boring with the sailplane. So back when I was studying, I got actually like a license for the sports plane, which is with a motor. Just a like two people plane, and it's really great. You have a lot of freedom in Germany for all sorts of these activities and like all sorts of crazy sports. In Taiwan, it's a bit restricted. When I came here, I was a bit disappointed to see like how restricted the airplane licensing is. But I found one place that you can get a license in Hualien. So actually, like a few weeks ago, I got my license for the Taiwanese airplane license here. Yeah, it's fun.
You're a pilot. You're an airplane pilot.
Just small airplane, two seats only. But it's just for fun to fly around and enjoy the landscape.
And the training in Germany at the university was for free, or no?
If you remember, in the student association, I think they have a very low member fees. I went to the regular flying associations in my town, and they had a student discount. So it cost like, what was it, less than half than regular. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. So you see, I mean, Germany, of course, gives you many opportunities to develop yourself, to develop your interests. Take this opportunity and develop your interests, because that's maybe even more important than just your academic training. So if you go to Germany, also take these opportunities to find out what you really like to do and do it. On this note, I would like to thank you very much for all your patience. Thank you very much. Get some cookies. Merry Christmas.